Okay, hello, welcome everyone to Artivism. I believe this is our 20-something event, right? We have three very special student ambassadors today. The first two are Adelphi University students, Maria Jimenez, who is graduating in December, who was just accepted to medical school. She served as student ambassador, I believe the first one of the fall semester. And we have Rowan McKiernan, who is also a student at Adelphi, who is majoring in psychology and criminal justice, correct? They want to make a very special announcement before we begin. So either Rowan or Maria can begin.
Hi, my name is Rowan. So I wanted to introduce the Artivism Club that we just got approved here at Adelphi. We are a club that focuses on social change through art. Since art is universal, anybody can make it, anybody can understand it. And we want to invoke that feeling of a comfortability and to promote social change and social justice and equality in the world.
Hi, I'm Maria. Just like a little follow-up on what Rowan said. What's really special about the Artivism Club is that anyone can have like a different initiative that they want to inspire. Anyone can have different motives, and we believe that this club will like give the platform to anyone who wants to do that. We both have different passions and different things that we want to change and want to strive for, and this club would give the platform to anyone who has that motive. Although I'm graduating in December, I'm really excited to see what the club does. And I'm always telling Rowan, like, let me know what happens next semester. If you guys do anything, I'd still love to come and participate.
Okay, thank you. Best of luck. They worked very, very hard. They got it together very, very quickly to make the deadline for the fall. So these are our co-founders. Maria will be leaving something behind, her mark at Adelphi, as will Rowan. So best of luck. So now our student ambassador for today is a very special one. She is a high school student. She is her advisor. Lisa Pastor was a student at Adelphi. She took some classes with me and with Cindy Maguire, who I could say was probably her mentor over her years at Adelphi. So when I contacted her about maybe collaborating, she introduced us to Mai Blaustein. Mai Blaustein is a senior in high school taking IB Visual Arts. She has a passion for art and science and finding the intersections between the two fields. She is part of her school science research course, where she is working on creating a device that detects two popular date rape drugs in drinks. Oh my God, wow, you'll have to tell us a little bit more about that. She hopes to design and eventually bring a product to market. She is interested in how art can be used to create social engagement and reform. Welcome, Mai.
Thank you. Hi. So I'm just going to be introducing the two lectures for today. So Cindy Maguire is founder and co-director of ArtsAction Group, an international community-based collective committed to facilitating arts initiatives with children and youth in conflict-affected environments. She's also an associate professor of art and design education at Adelphi University. Before joining Adelphi, Cindy was a senior research associate at the Annenberg Institute for School Reform at Brown University, as well as an adjunct faculty member in Pratt Institute and New York University's art education programs. Maguire also taught visual arts education in the Los Angeles City Schools for over 8 years. Her research interests include STEAM, science, technology, engineering, art, and math, and the role of socially engaged art in personal and social transformation. Maguire received her PhD in art education from New York University, master's in art from California State University, Long Beach, and her bachelor's in art education from the University of Kansas. Working with a range of media, Maguire's primary media focus is her own art in collage printmaking and digital media. In addition to creating work as a solo artist, she also designs and produces socially engaged art with children and youth. Her collaborative work has been exhibited in Los Angeles and the New York City metro area, as well as internationally. And Holt, PhD, is a visiting assistant professor of art and design education at Pratt Institute and adjunct professor at Adelphi University. She serves on ArtAction Group's Advisory Council. Her research, teaching, and writing encompasses social justice issues around art and human development and art education, archives, and histories. Acknowledging arts is increasingly recognized in global development and social change work. ArtsAction Group facilitates arts education initiatives with children and youth in conflict-affected environments.
Thank you, Mai, and welcome. We hope to see you here again and in the future, so you can come back and tell us all that you're doing. Okay, so we start. Dr. Maguire and Dr. Holt.
Okay, so we've been introduced and you've heard about our nonprofit. So I thought what we're going to do today is present to you, instead of like an overview of all the different projects we do or the different settings, is to take you to one place, Suhareka, Kosovo, and a project we did in 2019 as a way of sharing what ArtsAction Group is about. So there is some video, and you'll let me know if there's any problems around seeing it or hearing it. Let me prep to share my screen, and there we go. All righty. Okay, so we're going to present to you a project we did called Transformation, Past, Present, and Future, which is with the ArtsAction Group Kosovo Collective. And what we're going to do here is talk about the project. We're going to share a brief background about the collective before moving into the Kosovo partnership specifically. A little bit of a context around that region, that part of the world, and how we ended up there. And we're doing this through the lens of using the arts to transform communities and really focusing on the use of socially engaged art and art therapy and healing in fostering capabilities and human development during rebuilding. So it's just an interior shot of Fellbach House, which is where we do our work in Suhareka, Kosovo. Here you can see some students putting up an exhibition. This actually included Adelphi University study abroad students in this particular project. So you already heard about what we're about. We're a collective, and we are people from different geographic, cultural, and social positioning. And we are professional and student arts educators, art therapists, teaching artists, and educators working in Kosovo, South Africa, Sri Lanka, the United States, and the Western Sahara refugee camps in Algeria. And again, we work drawing upon different approaches to arts and healing. So you see some pics of other projects we've done with the kids. We're interested in focusing on children and youth in conflict-affected environments because we're thinking about how they've been impacted by trauma, violence, and efforts at cultural erasure. And so it's really through the respect, open dialogue, and a key component long-term cooperation that we develop these projects, and we make a commitment to share the work to a broader audience, which is what we're doing here today.
And also ArtsAction has been going to Kosovo since 2010.
Yeah, they're a family. We're a big family there. So something that we think is really important is we only go where we're invited. So we don't like parachute in and tell people what they need to do. So they find out about us through word of mouth or the website. And because we're working in really politically sensitive contexts, like civil wars have taken place, there's still political, economic, and cultural oppressions. We really have an intense vetting process. It could take up to 2 years of conversation and dialogue before we actually go for the first project. And I just like this statement, building these relationships is what fosters the openness, and that kind of transparency really allows for the starting points for conversations with partners. And everybody who's a part of the team is an expert and a part of it. In fact, it's just like how you describe the Artivism Student Club. We really are working with that same ethos. So this is a picture of a student working on a drawing that was exploring the ideas of utopia, dystopia. So So when we talk about doing this work, we're understanding both individual preferences, choices, situations, but we're also conscious of navigating the systemic issues going on in the communities, kind of the institutionalized systems that really impact the choices we make. So that's also folded into the work and when we're designing these experiences. Here's a photo of the team, part of the team in Kosovo in 2019. There's Anne on the left there. So these projects will go for 5 days, 10 or 15 days, but the conversations continue regularly online throughout the year. So again, we really develop into these sort of like family friend relationships.
Cindy, that photo also reflects the kind of the co-designing of it, of the projects that we do. So two of the youth that are sitting there are from Kosovo, and they're part of the planning in terms of what's going to happen throughout the week of making.
Shvend and Anita, we met them when they were teenagers. So the lenses that we're working with to design the projects are the capability approach, which is linked to United Nations Development Program, so global development, creativity, pedagogies of love, and hope and healing within transdisciplinary practice. So we're using the words art or artivism, but we work across a lot of different visual and performing arts, science, STEM, STEAM. We just think that when you're bringing in this interdisciplinary or transdisciplinary approach, it just surfaces these new ways of exploring these individual disciplines and again, centering healing and love in arts-based development practices. That's really critical to what we do. So this is a picture of a vineyard looking down into the valley in Suhareka.
It's a very mountainous region. So the video that was playing as people were coming in is actually from a community that's not too far away, and we're up on a summit, and we're just there happened to be a festival happening at the bottom, and so the sounds were just sort of filtering up to the top of the hill, and so the sound actually carries through the valley. So that's what you were looking at in that last video. I didn't get a chance to talk about what that was.
Thank you. So I found out about this community and partnering with them through a co-founder of Fellbach House Center for Creative Education, which is where we work in Suhareka. I was at a peace education conference in 2005 in Greece, and that's how I was introduced. It's actually the first project that we did as ArtsAction Group. So it was kind of a chance encounter that led into this ongoing long-term project. And that's a photo of downtown Suhareka. And in Kosovo, one of ArtsAction Group members is Refik Galapani, and he's the art director and teaching artist at Fellbach House. And he was and is interested in how contemporary art practices and storytelling as a form of collective healing and visioning for the future. Like, how can we work with that with children and youth? And was also interested in contemporary art education for the teaching artists and the students. There's a shot he took. It's very mountainous region. It's the northeastern end of the plain of Prizren. So it's southwestern Kosovo bordering Macedonia, Albania. And the municipality where we work is approximately 800,000 residents, over 90% Albanian ethnicity. There's some Roma population there as well. And arts and culture are highly valued by the community. So they don't question the value of the arts in terms of bettering the people in the community, economic vitality in the region. There's a beautiful town down near the border with Albania called Prizren. And again, it's home to multiple arts festivals. There's an international documentary festival in Prizren. And in Suhareka, where we work, there's something called Festari International Art Colony. So artists come from all over the world to do a 2-week artist colony. They make art together. They share their experiences. They have conversations. So it's like a community building experience for the artist. So why are we there? So I don't know how many people have heard about the Kosovo War, which was in 1998 to 1999. And before we get into some of that background, I just want to read this quote because it really gets into why we work with children and youth. And that is that when children and youth are subjected to violence and conflict, they're disproportionately and uniquely affected. Their resilience and socio-emotional well-being are essential to any post-conflict learned-term reconstruction, development process, or long-standing peace. And in fact, we spoke with adults in the community and a few years ago, and they were very clear. They were like, we can't forgive. It's too much for them, but they wish that for their children. So they're committed to this project.
It's also important to note that these traumas are generational too. So the children, even if they weren't directly impacted by the war at the time, they still carry that trauma from their families, the generations.
Yeah, and that's something our partners there are very interested in addressing. So the war was for 2 years, but 10 years leading up to this conflict, there was extreme oppression with in the Kosovo region of what was then the former Yugoslavia with Slobodan Milosevic. And overnight, Albanian businesses, colleges, schools, art galleries were shut down. And there was looting of historical objects, heritage sites, artwork was destroyed. And the way the community responded was to actually develop an entire parallel civil society and government. So they had, through volunteer and like a shared economy, they opened schools, they ran like their municipalities, their villages, they had exhibitions, literary gatherings, theatrical performance. So culture was used as a form of resistance, even in the face of threats of imprisonment and death, like quite literally. And Refke says it's really the arts and cultural work that sustained them during the emergence to power of Slobodan Milosevic. So earlier you saw that picture of the kids running down the street. So this is a similar area in 1999 after the bombings. So Yugoslavia, a former country, kind of fell apart in pieces starting in 1992, and Kosovo War was sort of the last conflict. And Malcolm, who's a historian, talks about the speed and scale of human suffering that it caused in Kosovo, which is a very tiny country, primarily Albanian, eclipsed even the cleansing of non-Serbs from parts of Bosnia in 1992. And that's a documented genocide. So this part of the world experienced the worst of it. Here's a picture of a refugee camp in neighboring Macedonia. They actually set up military blocks to essentially march people through, like they were killings, rapes, and then marching people out of the country. And as they were leaving, taking their passports, identity cards, etc. So Suhareka, because it's close to the border, was kind of a target, and it sustained quite a lot of damage. And there are 2 well-documented massacres that have been shared with us that we will share with you. This picture on the right is a close-up of what you're seeing, the smaller picture on the left. March 1999, a family associated with the Kosovo Verification Mission, which was like a UN established organization, was targeted by Serbian police. So 24 civilians were executed on site. And the next day, another massacre of the Berisha family occurred. Families were living in like family compounds. You might have 6 or 7 houses encased with like a stone fence. They often joke that they jumped from the 19th century to the 21st. They kind of missed the 20th century. In this instance, these family members were marched into town and forced into this building and locked in there, mostly women and children. And the police and paramilitary threw hand grenades, machine guns, rifles, and killed everybody in the cafe. 2 adults and 1 child presumed dead survived the shootings by later escaping from a truck as it hauled the bodies away. So even sharing this story is quite emotional. So they sat with this space for 20 years, just coming back to it and thinking, what do we do? How do we process what happened, and how do we honor the people who were killed? And in fact, in 2021, they opened the Museum of the Martyrs. And that's a small picture here that shows you that space. And just down the road is another memorial designed and built by Refke. And this is a student's drawing of that memorial during our first visit to work with them, a banner we made. And that memorial includes all the names of the individuals and families killed from the Suharekas, the municipality, and there's about 41 villages around it that really comprise the region. So for 2 years, they experienced ethnic cleansing, disappearances, and other atrocities. Essentially, all the homes were destroyed. And you can't come across anybody who didn't have a relative or close friend who was killed or disappeared. So that's the context in which we're working. Refke was actually an artist and then called into the military as part of the Kosovo Liberation Army, which to the US was a terrorist organization. So Kosovo is an independent state, but it's not recognized by China, Spain, Russia, Serbia, any country that has breakaway regions. So it struggles to have access to cultural building and economic building activities. So this is where we work. Here we're driving into town in this photograph with Mayteam, one of our partners. There's that 19th, 21st century vision. This is a picture of Fellbach House, Center for Creative Education. And again, 41 villages, the kids and youth get bussed in. It's a real cultural hub for the community. And there's tons of different educational arts activities, computer education, English as a second language, cooking, theater. What was that?
There's dance.
Dance, yeah. It's there's always something going on in the center. And, you know, over half the population is under the age of 25. There's high unemployment. And I think a medical doctor there makes about 6,500 euros a year. So the economy is, there's not a lot of opportunity that way. So now we're taking you to the workshops from 2019.
This was the last time we went.
I know. We had a study abroad scheduled for 2020 and then COVID hit with the Delphi students. So we're hoping for not this spring, but the next. So our project this year was called Transformation, Past, Present, and Future. And we always start the workshops with like a question. And this year it was, what's your special gift? And we talked with the students, had conversations around the different communities that we're all a part of, families and all their variations, friends, work, and then like, what are our special gifts that we can that can be shared within, among and across these communities? And then bringing in the healing aspects of the socially engaged art workshops centered around cultural erasure, memory, and intergenerational trauma through storytelling and play. But we set this up, but the kids and youth really sort of decide on the focus, right? And the story they're going to tell. So 2019 was a 20-year anniversary of the NATO bombings, which is actually something they welcome. They see that as being integral to them winning that conflict. So what we're showing you took place over 5 days, including the final exhibit. And as a former high school art teacher, I can tell you it's pretty phenomenal. That much work happens. As part of our workshops, we're inspired by and share with students a range of contemporary artists and cultural workers, paying attention to different positions, genres, geographic locations.
Also, local artists, local contemporary artists as well.
Definitely. And so we were looking at artists looking with that theme of like superhero, superpower. This is a piece by Chitra Ganesh. Here's Remy Noel, Lorena Paparina. And we're also asking the students, what are your references? Who do you admire? Who's your superpower? And here's a piece by Trenton Doyle Hancock. And the whole point was really we wanted the children to embody and imagine themselves as like the main character in the superpower story. So we'll start with the kids because we work with the kids and then the youth. So what's your superpower? There's the team in the art room at Fellbach House. And they're ages 8 to 11. And we did mixed media relief prints using photography, green screen, and collage. And each print is a window into their little, like their selves, right? Where they illustrate their gifts in action. So after sharing the artists and having conversations around like, what do you see? What do you think? What do you wonder about in this artist work? We asked the children to think about and identify their own superpowers. And then we moved into a contemplative meditation activity. We do a lot of mindfulness activities as part of the healing aspect of this work. And you'll see a video later on that's going to show you a little bit of that process. That's actually my stepmother leading that. My dad and stepmom came this year in 2019. And again, here's Anita working with Glauc and Spend. And again, we met them when they were, I don't know, 11 or 12. And just to point out that it's that long-term commitment that these relationships get made and established, where, you know, former students are now the teachers. And then the workshops themselves become annual community events. That's Greta. I think we met her when she was 3. It's just wonderful to see them growing up. They're like my babies. Okay, so here's a little bit of the work. The students are preparing the print plates. They're styrofoam, carving into the styrofoam to make relief prints. And here they've assuming their superpower pose in front of a green screen. And then they were printed and then cut out and collaged into the artwork. And here they are building their prints. So we incorporate a lot of different student-centered strategies, therapeutic, restorative justice practices like opening and closing circles, play, storytelling. So we're trying to create a space where, you know, if difficult emotions or memories or things come up, that it's a safe space for it to happen. And it may be that no one's talking about it directly, but maybe things are being expressed through the artwork. So again, providing a safe space and then the children really taking the lead on where they go with that. And when we think about art therapy and art making, Kozolina talks about art forms and art making mirroring our experience while at the same time stimulating new ways of seeing, feeling, and thinking. That's part of our charge here, what we're trying to do with the kids and the community with them. And I love this. Individuals and communities impacted by conflict can benefit from creative processes just as a way of generating maps to liberation and healing, right? They serve as these transformative portals to new possibilities, which come from embracing new and unfamiliar terrain. You know, if we want a different world around us, we have to be able to imagine it. What does it look like?
The other thing is, as they're working, you know, in terms of the language, you know, some of the older kids speak English, some of the younger kids also speak English. There's, we're able to communicate through arts, through play, and through the different translators. So sometimes it's messy, but it's really a process of leading with the heart and having fun and playing.
Yeah, I had 1 year we had an 8-year-old as our advisor in the youth group, Malachi. I was like, hey, Malachi, get over here. Some translation. So it's just a very generous feeling space, it seems to me, to all of us, I think. So here are the final prints by the children. And so they all went through the same kind of processes, same materials, same skills being taught, but every print is different. And we see that as a sign of success, right? It's their vision, their voices. So before we move into to the youth now, we're really working with these theories of constructionism and constructivism, like in education, as well as Dewey's theories of the arts and aesthetics as democratic pedagogy, focusing more and more on the integration of traditional arts, because these communities have a deep, rich traditional arts and culture traditions, and bringing that with socially engaged art and STEAM and maker ed. And there's been a lot of call for that from wherever we go. People are really interested in that. So here we are in the art room now with the youth, same room, but different group. And with them, we are working with digital media, including something called video mapping, film, sound, green screen, with youth ages 15 to 20, creating a series of self and group portrait photos, short videos, exploring their selves and their gifts through the prism of past, present, and future. And this work was projected onto, over on the left here is a picture of the Education Museum. Well, they call it the Education Museum because it was a former school, but it's a museum. And we took over the outside as well as the inside of the space. Usually we're over just in Fellbach House exhibiting things, but this year we thought, let's take it out, further out into the community. And here you see a picture of that museum space right after the war. It was one of the very few buildings left standing. And you can see that there's been significant renovation work.
It is also right across the street from the Fellbach House. So it was a really easy process to be able to kind of walk back and forth the 100 times that we did in one day.
Yes. Furiously working. So anyway, thinking about this idea, light as a medium. So photography, film, video mapping. And here you see Spend is doing a perspective drawing based upon the photograph of the museum. You can see on his cell phone. And that's to map out projection. So we worked with a video mapping program where you could delineate exactly where on the building or an object that you want video to be projected. So that's what we did there. And that was building on a project Hannah Allen, photography professor at Adelphi, did in 2018. We made one of the rooms in Fellbach House a camera obscura. So this year we flipped it and did it outside. So we're projecting out onto the buildings. And here's some images. We're setting up the green screens. There's one of the girls and her artwork. We do a lot of stop motion animation work, which was then also projected onto the building. There's someone flying. You're going to see that soon. So there's a lot of digital work with the youth this year. Well, combo of drawing and digital. Anyway, those people were working into the wee hours of the night. Like we go home, and if we drove by for dinner, the lights would still be on and they'd be in there working, those youth. Here's some of their green screen shots that were projected onto the building. This is a empty glass exhibition space outside the museum. And we were experimenting with the video mapping. We discovered like, wow, we can make it into an aquarium. So that's what that is. You'll see that in the video in a moment. So we've gone through making a lot of the artwork. So now we're down to the last 2 days. And so the children took their individual prints and put them together onto a collaborative mural. And each print is wired with a conductive touch point and a microprocessor, so that when you touch their print, you put headphones on, you hear the students telling the story of their superpower. So they're preparing that here. And while they're working on that, the youth continued with the video mapping. We were out there at night testing this stuff with Spend and Anita, making sure, like, we knew we wanted to do this. My husband and I had taken a class in video mapping, but like, did I remember any of it? No. But when we got there, we were determined to do it. So we like figured this stuff out while we were making it. There's a shot when we first got it up and running.
Oh, there's a question from Cassandra asking what programs did we use to do this? And it was this program called VPT-8.
VPN,
Right.
VPT,
No.
VPT, yeah, VPT.
But there was an 8, and I don't know if that was the 8th edition of it or something like that, but
I think so.
I should Google that.
Yeah, you can, that's open source. We try to work with open source materials as much as possible, but there's also one called Mad Mapper, which is proprietary. But VPT, email me. I can send you
VPT-8,
yeah, VPT-8.
projection mapping.
So here we are setting up the exhibition. You know, when you're installing exterior, interior, mixed media, multimedia, there's a lot of work that goes into that. Down the lower right-hand corner, that's my dad, who also helped us. He's an artist. Okay, so here we are, exhibition night, and you can see the work is projected onto the building. And then we had lots of different videos that we're playing. I'm just going to play little clips as well as longer ones. Here's one just demonstrating the video mapping idea. So some animation. Here's a shot of people showing up for the exhibition. The families are all invited, of the youth and children involved, but with everything being projected and then the DJ, like people were walking by like, what is going on? And like stepping into the space and becoming a part of the exhibition.
Yeah, it was like a traffic stopper.
Yeah. So I'm going to show you a 6-minute video that really takes you through the whole experience that my dad produced. Here we go. Mindfulness activity. And can you check the chat?
I did, and there was just the one question.
Okay.
Oh, wait, no. Was that Paulina Kosovo?
I don't know. I just wanted to check the chat. It is traditional music from the region. Okay, and you got it. Okay. Thank you. Stressful. This last little bit.
I forgot that was in there.
And doing an interpretive dance. So that's sort of encapsulated. He picked that music because he said that's what he felt like he was sort of dropped into Kosovo and made into an art teacher overnight.
Cindy, I can't remember what program did they use for the video editing. That was spent. They were up until the wee hours of the night. I don't remember if they used.
They were using a PC program, so I'm actually not sure.
Uh-huh.
So you can come back to this website. Here's a video of the kids, and you can hear their stories behind their superpowers. Here's the final piece. I'll show you just a little clip of what was projected onto the wall of the museum. So, you know, they're learning new technical skills, making some art, but they're like that experience of like flying, right? They're projecting themselves into these stories in a kind of cool embodied way.
Cindy, you should show the project, the one that was up in the, that had the full room.
Yeah, that's coming up. So here's, you can see onto the right here, the projection. Here's the shots that were projected. So I'm going to show you two short videos that a team of youth did, their own video art related to past, present, future.
So we should also add that this work, a lot, you know, you give sort of that hook, and then the amount of work that they generated in those 5 days is, in some ways, we would wake up in the morning and go to the Fellbach house and see that they'd created like 3 or 4 things that, you know, we didn't even know existed the evening before.
Yeah.
So they would just take it and run with it.
Yeah, it's a pleasure as an art teacher. This is one piece. So that's it in the exhibition. And here you can see them setting up for the show. There they are. The 2 artists. And then here's this piece here, which is really beautiful.
It's okay. I just did trial right here. Woo, look at this.
So you can see this video and just think of the whole story we presented and their history and context and what these kids made.
Fresh laid concrete, melodies blowing. Don't care where we're going, or the day's wasting. Just keep moving and take it all in. The rumble of voices, the beats to our song. The horns are just on the beat, all get along. Let's be the horn. Looked at 1,000 different pictures that your mother took of you. You see, I had this crazy dream last night. This man, he talked to me. He told me everything that's good and bad about my history. And he said that you are the future. He said that.
Whoops. Okay. And then at your leisure, you can watch our little celebration at the end of each week. We all get together, the youth, the adults, the mayor, the deputy mayor, the ministers of arts and culture come. We've had the Kosovo generals show up. So it's really stretches across the community in a significant way. And if you come back and hear this, they have an amazing group of a cappella singers that serenade us every time we're there. And I guess just to follow up with, this is Refke's quote: "With art and hope, we establish the future, preserving human identity, and that art fulfills spiritual needs in countries where violent conflicts have taken place." And Anne, did you want to read any of this?
Well, I think just in the interest of time, because it's 3, we have about 7 minutes, and we have a question here about the arts administration behind the scenes, like the cultural policies in the area, government, private support.
Sure, go for it. Meaning, how does this happen?
Yeah, I think we need to address that just so that we're not over time, since it's almost 3:30.
Okay, so amazingly, in Kosovo, you can make a life as an artist, which seems to be everywhere but the United States. So the government and municipalities have ministers of arts and culture, youth arts and sports, and they designate monies for these kinds of activities. Fellbach House is also a nonprofit that is also partially funded by a German organization called Fellbach. And then ArtsAction Group, we come and we donate our time, some supplies, and we have paid students in the past doing like preliminary type activities. Does that get at that?
And it doesn't mean that they don't have to budget or be creative in terms of how they're using the monies, but it's just that there's really a place within the culture that is valuing it. So, or valuing the fact that artists are contributing to society and need to be recognized for that. So they're not working for free, so to speak.
Right. Which is different than here, again, in terms of the model. There's just a will. And then Refke is, the people we work with, our partners in ArtsAction Group in Kosovo, Refke's a hero in that community. He was part of the KLA. He's associated with really being one of the people that saved that community and saved a lot of lives in that area. And he's a wonderful teacher. So very
It's
well
also
respected.
the impetus behind the art colony as well.
Yeah. Any other questions?
I think we will give it over to Mai, who will just close it up and then open the forum for some more questions. It's okay if you go over a little bit, don't worry. So Mai?
Thank you so much to Dr. Ann Holt and Dr. Cindy Maguire for being our artivist today. And on Monday, November 29th at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, then Nina Bellicio is presenting the Talisman Project, Artifacts of Growth Mindset. So be sure to catch that. And then I guess before we open up the floor to questions, we ask that you participate in a short poll that will pop up on your screen right now. So for more information on this and all of the series, past and upcoming events, go to the website that I'll put in the chat and answer the poll. And then, or you can follow us on Instagram, which is also in the chat above, but I will put it again. Or simply just Google Artivism in Adelphi, and our YouTube channel is Artivism for Shared Humanity. We are also hosting an open call art installation for all creative thinkers on our Instagram. So if you would like to get more involved in this ongoing initiative, please contact the Artivism team at the email that I'll put in the chat below. And now I'd like to ask if there are any further questions for Artivists. Please use the raise hand function on Zoom or just ask your question in the Zoom chat. Wishing you all a joyful and inspiring Thanksgiving.
It's my
Well, I want to say, I think this is amazing. Congratulations to all of you. It's like you did a small class to kind of, as an arts class, but it also served as art therapy to heal these young children, correct? And it's just grown from healing to growing. It started from this little seed that now is, of course, growing with the students when they were little, now running these programs, the way you've introduced technology and all the arts, dance, theater, music. It's great. It's such a beautiful thing you all did. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. It was fun to share. I see Lisa in the background there. Yeah, it's a real privilege to be able to do this work, and we recognize that.
And the students really take such a leading role with it. It's, I mean, down to everything, because it's even Anita addressed the mayor, that reception at the end. Anita basically introduced the work and talk to the whole crowd about it, because that's not something necessarily, neither of us speak Albanian.
Yeah, I can say yes and no. Po, yo, no. Thank you, Thelamandirit. Yeah.
Food menu items.
Yeah.
Will it continue this summer?
No, usually in the summer we go to Sri Lanka, but again with COVID, that's put off. So I think the soonest we'll be going to Kosovo is a year from this spring, hopefully with a study abroad from Delphi University. And then that following summer, going back to the northern Sri Lanka, where we work with the Tamil communities. And
vaccination rates need to go up.
Yeah, but student, you're all welcome to reach out, be a part of this. We like bringing people along into this kind of work, just like what you're doing with Artivism. The study abroad will be spring break, so it's a week. So it's a week before and the week after, the weekend before and the weekend, bookending that week.
I would actually like to, if there's a link to the Artivism Club at Adelphi, I would like to invite students of mine, if there's something that maybe could be emailed or something that I could just pass along.
I think Maria can answer that. Maria, there'll be a link soon, right? You're waiting for some things to just kind of be established?
Yes.
Yeah, once your CSI, like once you go through the training, they'll start to send you all that information. So then perhaps you can send that to Professor Holt.
I would like to take a second to thank everyone for participating today. Dr. Holt, Dr. Maguire, wonderful presentation and excellent work that you're doing. Thank you for that labor that has to be done. And unfortunately the conflicts exist, but it is good that we have people like you that go in and try to counteract what has been done politically or otherwise. Now, little thing that we have here in Artivism for our audience to have an action-oriented takeaway. So I would like to ask each one of you, if you were to choose one takeaway from your experience from today's presentation, if you like, what would that be, so that our audience is inspired to take action to start transforming society wherever they are?
You can start small.
You can also consider that it's really a radical thing to be able to envision transformation and to be able to hope. That's a necessary capacity to make change.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very powerful, both of them, definitely, yes.
Okay, any other questions or comments? I believe Dr. Lake had something in the chat for you. Yes.
Yeah, I was just commenting on, just seeing the children's faces and the joy that was generated as a function of empowering them to actually, not just consume art generated by others, but to participate themselves and to express how they feel.
Yeah,
So I thought that was amazing, seeing all their little faces.
I know. I'd say it would take me, when I was a high school art teacher, this kind of project would have taken probably a month, and seeing them every day. Right? Yeah. Cassandra, are you saying something?
Sorry, no, I have a student in front of me. He's asking me questions.
Okay, go back to teaching.
Multitasking.
Not really teaching. It's like I usually have a couple of young men. This is an all boys school, so I have a student who's asking me advice for a shield project that they're doing for the school, and there's a contest, and he's asking me like, "Yo, where's Mr. Torres? I'm trying to submit this to him so I could try to enter the contest." I'm like, I have no idea. He left by now.
Alrighty.
Yeah. No, but I was thinking about the projects because I am trying to teach STEAM to my young men here. Like right now, it's a bit of a mix between like a couple of juniors and seniors, juniors and sophomores, but majority of them are seniors. So I'm just trying to like take notes on like things I could possibly do with them, especially, the whole activism part, which I think this should be a huge role for them. Because besides being in a Catholic school, I feel like sometimes they really don't understand certain things. And I think this will be like a great opportunity to like research like possible current events and stuff like that, and how to implement it in kind of like a creative art term, such as like the green screen thing, which I was trying to look up programs very quickly on my phone, versus maybe possibly doing kind of like digital collages, because they have a graphic design class here, which I might speak to that teacher to see if maybe we could collaborate together and stuff like that.
I think collaboration, anytime you can do that's a wonderful thing, because there's just more in collective, right, than by ourselves. So that's a great impulse, I think.
Yeah, it's like trial by fire right now. Like right now, I'm having them making cardboard structures, so I have tons of cardboard all over my classroom right now. Matter of fact, do I have one near me? Can you pass me my Tweety?
I think the other thing too is if you're interested in doing
A big cardboard bird. Yeah.
social justice ideas, that and with the SAGE is also just to see what are they concerned about as well, starting there to sort of open up possibilities for other perspectives.
And Cassandra, if you'd like, give us your email or email us, right, at artivism@adelphi.edu. Maybe we can get some of your students involved.
Sure, that'll be great. I have to see like which ones will be really interested, because this is a highly, like most of the boys in here are into sports. So it's like sports come before this class sometimes. So it's like a matter of.
It's okay. You'll sort them out. Yeah, we work with two Jesuit priests in Sri Lanka who are like liberation theology and they're real activists. Yeah.
Yeah, the only reason I'm even marginally Catholic now, which your dad's not listening, is because I did the JVC and I had Jesuits who would take us out to Buddhist monasteries and meditate. And I was like, this is not the Catholic Church I grew up with, but I want in. And they practice liberation theology, or embrace liberation theology.
Yeah, very much action oriented. Well, thank you for the opportunity to present. We really appreciate it, and being part of this community.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Dr. Maguire, Dr. Holt. We hope to see you back here again. Maybe we can, you can present again in the fall of 2022. Any updates on your work? Maybe you can collaborate with some of your students. Maybe Lisa, it's so good to see you. Thank you to our sponsors, Adelphi University, Sync for Hope, Gottesman Libraries, a Teachers College at Columbia University, and of course, Dr. Lake, as if she didn't have enough on her plate, she has Artivism now too. Thank you, everyone. Be well.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Bye.
This
Thank
was wonderful.
you.
Thank you, Mai.
Thank you, Maya. You
Did a
did
great
great.
job.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.